What's your thing? Bugs.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. As you can tell, I moved for probably like the 100th time. So I'm finally settled in my new place. Welcome. I don't know if you can see this, but I can turn on the lights. Come on. It wouldn't be a video without my lights, and I'm ready to just jump into it. Today, we will be playing Do You Remember This TV Show? Where we talk about nostalgic TV shows from our past and decide if they were good or not. But before we begin, please subscribe if you haven't already. Today, I wanted to talk about TV shows that were from my childhood and hopefully yours as well. And they had totally slipped my mind till a couple months ago. I have now rewatched most of these TV shows and I just wanted to talk about it because I have no one else to talk to about this other than maybe my sisters. So the first TV show we'll be talking about today is Redwall. Do you remember Redwall? I loved this show growing up. I like that the format was different than other TV shows at the time. It's probably because it was a Canadian, French, German animated TV show, or at least that's my guess. The show ran for a total of 3 seasons from 1999 to 2002, and the series is based on the novels by Brian Jacques. If you're new to my channel, I'm terrible at pronouncing things, so just go with it. I know it's bad. So as I mentioned before, the series spans for 3 seasons. The first season follows the book Redwall, the second follows Madame Mayo, and then the third follows Martin the Warrior. So we'll kind of be going over season 1 because that's the one that stuck with me most from my childhood. So season 1 follows a young mouse named Matthias that lives at the Redwall Abbey, which is a fortress under constant siege by the evil rats led by Clooney the Scourge. One day in the Abbey, an image of the legendary Martin, a great mouse warrior and defender of Redwall Abbey, begins speaking directly to Matthias, and Matthias then realizes his destiny. It's to find Martin's sword and defeat the evil rats from invading in order to save the Redwall Abbey. And I found the show truly entertaining. I think it kind of reminded me of Game of Thrones, but for kids. That doesn't include incest, nudity, or gore, so not like Game of Thrones at all. Anyway, I recommend rewatching this if you have the time. It's super fun. I thought this was a really interesting and developed TV show. This is probably because it's based off a series already. The lores and the backstory made it interesting to me as a kid and still interesting to me as an adult. And I found myself really invested in this series as I continued to watch it. I like that Matthias has a personal tie to wanting to save the Redwall Abbey due to his past and being attacked by Clooney himself. And I love that every other character is developed and adds to the story. I heard that they might be doing a movie of this soon, so it might be worth actually checking this out.
I am that is. My sword shall wield.
Next show. Does anyone remember this weird show? I'm surprised this show left my memory, but at the same time, I'm not because I absolutely hated it as a child, and that show is Angela Anaconda. Angela Anaconda is a Canadian animated television series created by Joanne Ferris and Sue Rose. The show, similar to Redwall, ran for 3 seasons from 1999 to 2001. For a total of 65 episodes. The best way to describe the show is from the IMDb plot itself, and it says a rambunctious girl and her friends adventures in their school and community. I alluded to this earlier, but if I'm gonna be honest, I hated the show. I love the girl power energy behind the show, but other than that, there's not too much I liked about the show. I found Angela's voice so annoying and her character to be pretty cringe.
Angela got gum in my hair! I did not. She got hair in my gum.
And the animation just threw me off as well. Obviously, it's very different to anything that was on TV at that time or anything ever since, but that's not a reason for me to like it. And the only character I kind of liked growing up was Johnny, but I still hate the fact that Gina's character is centered around her being chubby and also that she likes food.
Besides, Angela has much more important things to worry about, like how many cavities all this gum will give her. Tiny dotty cake? I hope you don't seriously expect me to hug a ferocious pet-eating alligator on an empty stomach. Let's eat.
Get it, guys? It's funny because she likes food. Honestly, I watched an episode to prepare for this video, but I could only watch 1 episode before I called it quits. I find it really hard to come up with the words of why I hate this show so much. Like, is it the animation? Is it the voice acting? The show's supposed to be based in the 50s, but it's not. I don't know, it just doesn't hit for me. And I hate the way the story's told. The narration style is just so annoying to me.
Another perfect day. Not only do I get to hang out with King and my pals at Doggy Obedience School, but my parents are going to the airport to pick up my Grandma Lou from Florida.
I hate the fact that everyone uses their first and last names as well. It just like weirds me out. Saying all this, I realize that these could be reasons people actually like the show, but for me, these are all the reasons I hated the show. And I feel like I've already given the show enough airtime and I have nothing else to say about it, so we're just gonna move on. The next show I want to talk about is Babar. Oh, Babar. This show is a show that I always wanted to watch, but for some reason couldn't figure out the timing for it. It was only on really early during weekdays or weekends, but I still seem to miss it. But anytime I did catch a show, it did feel like a really big treat. The best way I can describe this show is it's a warm cup of tea on a rainy day. There's something so calming about the animation style and the way the stories are told, and I think it just made me feel really relaxed as a kid. And as someone who deals with general anxiety from as early on as I can remember, this show made me feel comforted and calm. Doing some background research for Babar, I didn't realize how intense the background was. So this was an animated television series in Canada. It premiered in 1989 on CBC and had a rerun in 2006 till 2021, sorry. The series is actually based on John de Berneuf's original series of books called Babar. And the show has been dubbed in over 30 languages in 150 countries. The book is based on a tale that Berneuf's wife Cecil had invented for their children, and this is kind of where it gets intense. It tells a tale of a young elephant named Babar whose mother is killed by a hunter. Babar escapes and in the process leaves the jungle in exile, and he visits a big city.
Guys, this is Editing Alley. I just had to jump in because I don't know why I said that last line like that. It just makes me laugh, and I just thought it was really weird, and I just had to address it. So that's all.
He then returns to bring the benefits of the civilization to his fellow elephants.
Also, I forgot to mention that the current Elephant King ends up dying from eating a bad mushroom. Talk about a bad trip, am I right? Anyway, back to the review.
Because of his travels in civilization, Babar is chosen king of the Elephant Kingdom. He marries his cousin Celeste, and they subsequently have children and teach him valuable lessons. Kind of intense way to start off a story, but I still love this show. One side note I will say though is I am very confused on why the elephants can interact with the humans. Like, can they speak the same language? Are they speaking English to each other? Is that normal for the humans to talk to the elephants? And also, why aren't the elephants much, much bigger than the humans? Like, it just doesn't seem to make sense. But we will let it slide because it's Babar and it's a great show. Okay, moving on to the next show. I'm so excited to talk about this. This is Tales from the Cryptkeeper. This show was terrifying to me growing up. I think it's also the reason I got into Goosebumps as a teen and horror movies as an adult. And I know this is for sure the reason I have a fear of dolls and mannequins. I thought for sure they would come to life and fucking kill me. So this show was actually based on the 1950s EC Comics series Tales from the Crypt and the live-action television series of the same name, which aired concurrently on HBO. Made for children, Tales from the Cryptkeeper was a significantly milder version, and all blood and gore was completely removed to kind of make it more kid-friendly. The series was later canceled in 1994, but in 1999, the series returned back to television as New Tales from the Cryptkeeper. And the animation was different than previous episodes given the gap, which explains why some of the episodes look so different to the intro, and is something I always questioned as a child. Glad I solved this mystery like 18 years later. Rewatching the show, I realized that this is not at all scary. Like, I don't even know how I was afraid of dolls from this animation. As I said earlier though, this was a fun show that introduced me to the horror genre in general. And now I watch horror and thriller type movies, and I think this is a big reason for it. I still hear this theme in my head. And I would definitely rewatch a show just for nostalgia purposes. So that kind of concludes all the shows I wanted to talk about today. There are a couple honorable mentions that I will include in this video. One of them was Toad Patrol. I thought I made this show up in my head, but it turns out it actually exists. The next one I was thinking about including was Johnny Bravo, a man obsessed with the opposite sex that kind of reminds me of Elvis. What About Mimi was another show that just popped into my head. I still hear the intro in my brain. But that's all I really remember about it. And the last one I was thinking about including was The Kids from Room 402, which I have never met a single other person that has heard the show or watched it. So I didn't really think it was a good one to include if it's just me who watched it. But it's burned into my memory. And that concludes our honorable mentions that didn't make it into this video, but I felt like still deserved a little recognition. Well, that sums up the entire video, guys. Let me know in the comments down below, did you watch any of these TV shows? Were any of them your favorites? Let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. It's been A Slice. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Sartaccio, fila fila ma che vuoi filare, senza punta l'ago non può andare, troppo filo te l'ha fatto far ed ora non puoi più filare.